People have been scanning the surface of a Scottish lake for centuries in search of the Loch Ness Monster.
One of the most frequent questions I get asked out here in Loch Ness is obviously the Loch Ness Monster, and do I personally believe in the monster? I'm not such a fan of a dinosaur swimming around here in Loch Ness. I'm not really a plesiosaur kind of guy, but for me, definitely a mystery. There's been over 1,000 recorded sightings of monsters or creatures being seen in Loch Ness.
For almost 100 years, the Loch Ness Monster has remained one of the world's most irresistible mysteries.
We were scared, really scared, because we just didn't know what it was.
A legend that's lured scientists, skeptics, and believers alike to its shadowy waters. Today, cutting-edge research claims the mystery may finally be solved. What scientists uncovered beneath Scotland's most iconic loch is astonishing, reshaping everything we thought we knew about Nessie.
A team of scientists sweeping the depths of Loch Ness said tonight they'd made sonar contact with a large unidentified object.
Before we dive into the latest revelations, let's rewind and see how this myth took root. The origins of the Loch Ness story stretch back through centuries of folklore, laying the groundwork for the creature that still captures imaginations around the globe.
The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is without a doubt the most famous or iconic monster that has been reported around the world.
Long before the nickname Nessie existed, Highland communities were already whispering about strange beings in their waters. These weren't ordinary fish or seals, they were far stranger. The ancient Celts spoke of the Kelpie.
The legend of the Loch Ness Monster continues to captivate. Hundreds showed up to search for the mythical creature in the Scottish Highlands over the weekend. They say this is the biggest Nessie hunt in more than 50 years.
A dark water spirit that appeared as a horse to lure travelers to their doom. Another terrifying being, the Nuckalavie, was described as a skinless sea demon. While today these tales are considered colorful folklore, back then they acted as warnings, reminders to respect the wild and unpredictable power of Scotland's lochs. So when stories of a monster in Loch Ness began circulating, they weren't entirely new. The idea of a mysterious beast in the water was part of the culture, waiting for its defining moment. That moment may have come as far back as the 6th century. According to the biography of Saint Columba, the Irish missionary encountered locals burying a man who had just been killed by a huge creature in the River Ness. When one of Columba's followers swam across the river, the beast surfaced to attack. But Columba made the sign of the cross and ordered it to retreat. The monster fled, and the story became the earliest written record of something unusual in these waters. For centuries, the Highland communities remained isolated. Rugged roads kept outsiders away, so these stories stayed mostly local.
When suddenly there was a huge splashing about sound coming from the marina. It was very alarming because it was so huge, it seemed to be stirring up the loch.
But that all changed in 1933. When the A82 road was completed along the northern shore of Loch Ness. Suddenly, visitors could drive through a landscape they'd only heard about, and the legend was about to go global, the sighting that sparked a frenzy. In April 1933, a couple named George and Aldie Spicer were driving along the brand-new road when they saw something extraordinary. They described a long-necked creature with a massive humped body crossing in front of their car, carrying some small animal in its mouth before slithering back into the loch. Their detailed account, picked up by newspapers, quickly spread beyond Scotland. Journalists began reporting every new sighting, however small, and soon the world was hooked on the idea of a living dinosaur in the Highlands. But it was a single photograph that would burn the image of Nessie into the public consciousness forever, building and faking the legend. In 1934, a London physician named Robert Kenneth Wilson took a photograph showing a small-headed, long-necked figure rising from the water. Published in the Daily Mail, it caused a sensation. To many, it matched the Spicers' description perfectly. It even resembled a plesiosaur, an extinct marine reptile. For decades, the grainy surgeon's photograph became the definitive picture of the monster. It inspired toys, movies, and book illustrations, cementing Nessie's look as a serpentine creature with humps. Few people questioned its authenticity until 1994. That year, Christian Sperling, stepson of big game hunter Marmaduke Wetherill, confessed on his deathbed that the photo was a hoax. Wetherill, embarrassed by the Daily Mail after failing to find evidence of the monster, had recruited Sperling to build a fake head and neck attached to a toy submarine. They staged the scene and gave the photo to Wilson to sell to the paper. The world's most famous monster image was, in reality, a plastic head on a toy boat. Other alleged proof soon fell apart as well, from the 1970s flipper photos to countless doctored images. With so many hoaxes exposed, the hunt for Nessie shifted from photographs to science. Enter the age of sonar. By the 1960s, both scientists and monster hunters were using sonar to probe the loch's depths. The newly formed Loch Ness Investigation Bureau dragged sound equipment through the water, listening for echoes of something unusual. While they never found a body, they did record mysterious blips, enough to keep hope alive. One of the most famous hunts came in 1975, led by Dr. Robert Rines of the Boston-based Academy of Applied Science. Combining sonar with underwater cameras, his team captured a blurry image of what looked like a large, diamond-shaped flipper, tantalizing evidence of a plesiosaur-like creature. Then, in 1987, the ambitious Operation Deep Scan sent 20 boats equipped with advanced sonar across the entire loch. Screens lit up with readings of an unidentified large object 600 feet down, and excitement peaked. But despite clearer data, no actual creature was found. The loch's extreme depth, murky water, and tricky conditions made it a nightmare for researchers. For a time, the mystery seemed unsolvable, until a new kind of science emerged: the DNA revolution. After decades of sonar sweeps, scientists turned to environmental DNA, eDNA, genetic traces left behind in water by every living organism. In 2018, Professor Neil Gemmell of New Zealand's University of Otago led a sweeping study of Loch Ness. Over 2 weeks, his team collected 252 water samples from the surface to the depths.
In 2 days, I get on a plane and I'm going to Loch Ness. And I'm going to start a new project using environmental DNA technologies to look for evidence of what lives in Loch Ness, and we might even find a monster.
They weren't just looking for fish. They were searching for traces of anything that matched the monster theories. The dream was to find plesiosaur DNA, or some unknown species. But the results were clear. No traces of a prehistoric reptile, and no DNA from any exotic giant animal. The plesiosaur theory was finally put to rest. Yet one result stood out: an extraordinary amount of eel DNA. It was everywhere. Gemmell's team concluded that the sightings people called Nessie could in fact be giant eels. While most eels in the loch are small, some could grow several meters long, easily resembling a serpent in the loch's dark waters. The case for giant eels. Eels are a natural part of the Loch Ness ecosystem. They hatch thousands of miles away in the Sargasso Sea, migrate across the Atlantic, and spend decades growing in freshwater lochs before returning to the sea to spawn and die. With such long lifespans, some develop gigantism, reaching extraordinary sizes. In murky water, a giant eel could create the illusion of humps, wakes, or even a long neck. Its side-to-side swimming motion forms ripples that can mimic multiple creatures. If one raised its head at the surface, it would look strikingly like the classic Nessie silhouette. Science may have offered a plausible explanation, but the human imagination helped turn giant eels, or even logs and boat wakes, into a legendary monster. Psychology and the power of expectation. Once Nessie became world famous, visitors arrived primed to see a monster. This psychological effect, called priming, makes people interpret ambiguous shapes as what they expect. In the loch's misty, dark environment, even ordinary objects can look extraordinary. Even after the surgeon's photograph was exposed as a fake, many held onto their belief. The idea of a mysterious creature lurking below was too compelling to let go. Proof that Nessie was always as much about the desire to believe as about the evidence, the unsolved oddities. Not every strange event fits neatly into the eel explanation. Some sonar readings, like one from the 1970s showing a large moving object at a consistent speed, remain unexplained. And the Dinsdale film from 1960, a short, shaky clip of a large dark shape crossing the loch, still divides experts today. Was it a boat wake or something alive? Loch Ness itself keeps the mystery alive. Deeper than the North Sea at 755 feet and filled with peat-dark water, it's almost impossible to see more than a few feet below. Its vast size and murkiness make it easy to imagine something huge hiding there. More than a monster. Whether Nessie is real or not, the legend has transformed the region. Tourism built around the monster brings millions of pounds to the Scottish Highlands each year. Villages like Drumnadrochit overflow with Nessie souvenirs, plush toys, mugs, t-shirts, turning the monster into a brand and a symbol of Scotland's wild spirit. For many, Nessie represents mystery itself. Alongside bagpipes and castles, she's part of the country's identity. The bigger picture. Loch Ness isn't unique. Other legendary creatures, the Yeti in the Himalayas, Bigfoot in North America, follow similar patterns. Blurry photos, footprint casts, and hair samples almost always turn out to be hoaxes or known animals under scrutiny. Yet, these myths endure because they speak to something deeper: our fascination with the unknown. Solving the mystery doesn't end the story. It begins a new chapter, one where we appreciate Loch Ness for its real wonders, its dramatic landscape, ancient geology, salmon, and yes, its eels. After decades of hoaxes, sonar blips, and now DNA testing, we can say with confidence, there's no giant dinosaur hiding in Loch Ness. The monster is almost certainly a mix of folklore, human imagination, and perhaps a few unusually large eels. But that doesn't make the story a failure. It shows how a local myth can become a global phenomenon, and how our minds can turn waves and logs into living legends. Nessie endures because people love a good mystery. In a world where almost anything can be found with a click, it's refreshing to have something that refuses to be pinned down. So, what do you think? Could the famous sightings have been giant eels all along? Or is there still something more out there, waiting to be discovered? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story. If you enjoyed this video, tap the next one on your screen to watch more legends explored.